nice. All the bars, all the music. No line at the buffet. Know what I'm trying to say?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Christian Watson benefited from Aaron Rodgers' ball placement. The guy has pretty hands, and he's not the greatest route runner. This is a total Bill Belichick move, and that's to roll the dice and take a gamble in the 6th round on Kayshon Boutte.
I like the name. Boutte.
Yeah, I think New England got themselves a diamond in the rough.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're back. This is Guys on Sports. You can find us at the GON Podcast, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Also, if you're watching us right here on YouTube, please like and subscribe if you like what you're hearing. Give you a quick outline today. It's going to be super quick. We're just diving right into rookie dynasty rankings. We're going to pick each our top 5. I'm sure we're going to have some crossover. But irregardless, we're kind of building this up over the next 3 episodes, and eventually this season we're going to give you our consensus picks, but we're going to be giving our top 5. But before we get into that, guys, how was your week? I know, Rocky, you had a nice...
Yeah, it was good. It was really nice. It was relaxing.
Relaxing, yeah. Super, maybe almost too relaxing, like you were going to die.
No, it was not that. I would say this, by like 9 o'clock, we had the boat to ourselves.
That's nice.
Kind of nice. All the bars, all the music. No line at the buffet. Know what I'm trying to say?
Really?
That's probably not
on
great
a cruise
for you.
People went indoors. They went to sleep quick, and us young people, we stayed out and partied.
So were you the youngest, like among the younger demographic on the boat?
Yeah, for sure. I was among the younger. We kind of met up with about like 10 to 15, maybe 20 people, like 30 to like 50s, and we kind of all. We didn't do it on purpose. We just realized night after night, we were all together again because everybody else had kind of went to bed early.
So how was that dynamic for you?
It's great. It's great. Yeah, a lot of fun. We met some great people.
I like how you casually
drank a lot.
I like how you casually put yourself in the same group as the 30-year-olds.
Yeah,
the
that
30-year-olds,
30 to
40.
50, 30s to 50s. Like that's
My God.
because there was a lot of people that I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people that were in their 70s for sure.
So you're 30 to 60s.
Where'd you hear about this cruise? In your AARP magazine or what?
Well, I actually saw it at your house because I noticed
been to
you
his
had
house too.
Yeah, and you had that like the cruise earmarked, and so I said, well, Mark can't afford this because he's out of work. He's out of work again.
Maybe
so
I
may as well take it.
Yeah.
So I took it, and I said, okay, I'll go. I feel bad the guy can't go. Maybe I'll throw him a couple bucks and he can go, but I don't know.
That was nice of you, Mark.
Yeah. But it was. I appreciated that
please.
you earmarked it for me because
You're
it was a great cruise.
You're welcome.
That was real nice. And Zach's missing tonight. So
Is he missing? Because he's not here. I think is probably the more correct way to say that.
I think that is that's
He's
the
not
correct
here.
terminology.
I mean, if we're ranking reasons to not come,
Oh yeah, this has
got to be one of the weakest thus far.
I mean, because like when you miss, it's normally like
He didn't even
something
try.
for your daughter. For me, it's like I'm out of town.
Yeah.
For you, it's like normally a really good excuse. My daughter's like in my volleyball championship.
Yeah.
Yes.
His is. Well, I mean, what did he tell us? Oatmeal cookies and tuna night.
They're breaking in the apartment.
Well, I mean,
essentially
hey,
what it was.
if he's breaking in the apartment. God bless him.
He didn't say
we're-
christening. He said breaking it in.
I think if we're translating what he means is,
I mean,
Samara
Mark thought he
doesn't want-
texted
so-
nestled.
Samara doesn't want to unpack boxes by herself.
Yeah, which I get. That would suck.
But I mean, they live there, so they could just do it whenever they want. I mean,
It's a week. And you know what the crazy thing is? He lives now in Winter Garden. So he lives closer than he's
closer,
ever
yeah.
lived. So he could like jet here and jet back. real
hopefully
quick.
this is not a sign of things to come.
I think he's on a short leash. Honestly,
I think he got in
it's,
trouble. I think he got in trouble.
I think it's like you're not going to play until you work. First, you're going to work. First, you're going to unpack these boxes.
I think it's a patent leather leash.
You're gonna get all. You're gonna organize the kitten mittens before you go and hang out with the boys.
That's
I just want to say, ever since the guys' cruise that he took, He's been on a short leash. Like something happened with one of his friends, I think, on that cruise.
He kissed
With
the
one of his
boy and
friends?
he liked it.
Taste of his cherry chapstick.
I mean, listen, he made a whole video
try it.
with the 5 guys, the friends. I think something happened, and probably she's got a point to keep them really close.
Yeah, especially 'cause she doesn't want to hang out with a bunch of guys.
Bunch of
anymore.
guys, yeah, because it could rekindle
man.
things.
Don't cross streams. Don't cross streams.
Hey, listen. Hey, what happens on the sea stays on the sea.
That's right.
Unless you tell your girlfriend. All right, guys. So let's get into the subject of the day.
The meat and taters.
Let's start it off with our fantasy breakthrough. Who I don't know if you guys. Come on, baby. I need you this week. It's your time.
Showtime.
Time for a breakout.
Gosh.
I like the riffs there, guys.
Did you watch the show last week?
I did.
Did you see Did you see it?
No.
Oh, I gotta show you after the show.
It's pretty funny, yeah.
All right, so fantasy breakthrough. We're talking our top 5 dynasty rookies. We're gonna go in order. We're each gonna say our 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, so on and so forth.
Yes.
Hopefully, there's some healthy debate here. If we
Yeah.
agree, I say we just kind of hash out why we agree and maybe why we might have not put him there, what we were contemplating, or if it was clear cut. Yada yada. Enough of me
I like
talking.
it.
Mark, why don't you start it off? Let's see who you got.
Well, I think number 1 is obvious, right? And that's where we're going to start it. I mean, he was drafted by the correct team, a team that has struggled to put the ball in the end zone. They've not been highly offensive. They've ran the most.
Well, they've been offensive, but not.
Yeah, they've run the absolute most in the league. Tyler Algier was a great stopgap in Atlanta, but sorry, Tyler, it was a short run, man. It's
Daddy's home.
Bijan.
Daddy's home. Daddy Bijan.
Daddy's here. I mean, this guy's a generational talent. People are talking about him like they talked about Barry Sanders, like they talked about everybody that came out that was the shit.
Yeah. Okay.
So Bijan's going to get the rock, and he's going to do a lot with it.
I would
Before
like to
you go,
disagree.
I know you're going to go. Oh, you're going to disagree?
No, I said I would like to
Oh,
disagree,
okay.
but I can't.
So just to dovetail off what you said, yes, I remember when this went down the week after, Zach mentioned on the show, RIP, or that it's going to hurt his fantasy value. I think, at the moment, I kind of bought into that a little bit just because of Cotterell and Algier. But like kind of zooming out and looking at it, I think it's just, it's his, the role is
No,
his.
I mean, they're already shopping Cotterell.
Oh, really? Yeah, that makes
In
sense.
fact,
There's an
been
older player.
rumors. There's been rumors that he might end up in Cleveland.
Well, of course.
There's been I'm not
saying. I'm saying, of course, you know about it.
That's why I know that. Yeah,
But
there's a
okay.
couple other teams that they name. But I think you're right. They've made it clear this is the guy.
Well, to your point, they ran the most last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neutral game script, which I mentioned last week, and for anybody that's listening, that's basically when the game is just being played as the game when they're tied. Nobody's trying to catch up. Nobody's down big. Just a neutral game script. They were second in the league at rush rate there. Yeah. And in the red zone, they were first in the red zone at rush rate. So he's coming into a great situation. He could do basically everything, and he's going to have more opportunity. I think he's going to be the safety blanket, the guy for Desmond Ridder. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I mean, I think he's rookie, like his rookie comps, and I'm, of course, reading this off, but Todd Gurley, Zeke, CMC, Saquon, like that's kind of the rookie season I expect from him. So.
If not even a little bit more, because I was playing with some numbers today, and I started to figure out strength of schedule for running backs and wide receivers. And how I figured that out is I took it off of last year's defensive rankings where they finished and designated everybody 1 through 32, added up the defensive rankings total of who he's facing, divided it by 17 to figure out what it is. So Bijan Robinson has the 7th easiest strength of schedule against the run. He faces a defense average of 19 to 20th ranked defense. So he's going to consistently go up against lesser opponents. Now, this is not taking into account any moves that the defense has made this year, obviously.
Yeah, take it with a grain of salt. It's the NFL. So.
But going off of last year's averages, so you have, the recipe for success is there. So, and he's going to be in my running back rankings as well, just a little precursor as to where I put him up very high. But you have the team that runs the most, and they are facing the 7th easiest strength of schedule for running backs.
That's nice. He set up pretty nicely. I don't think we need to say a lot more unless you have something to add there. But Bijan Robinson, I think, is safe to say might be the rookie fantasy MVP this year. 1-1 for sure, right?
Yep.
All right, so Mark, well, you got a number 2. I think we may differ here.
So this one actually, if Bijan wasn't so generational talented, then this guy would have definitely gone 1, and that's Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, so we're not disagreeing.
I'm
here
disagreeing here.
Are you? Yeah. So for Jahmyr Gibbs, real quick, I didn't like his situation on draft day, right? Mm-hmm. But then they go in to get rid of DeAndre Swift. They still have Monty, which is a bit concerning to me because why do you bring a guy in like Monty, pay him a bunch of money for a couple
he's
years?
A guy like Monty.
But Monty also, there's a stat on Monty where he was one of the worst ranked running backs in average per carry when facing a certain style of defense. With that being said, Jahmyr Gibbs comes in and he's touted as the can-do-all 3-down back. And he, in Detroit, is tied for the easiest strength of schedule for running backs.
Yep.
So he's facing an average defensive rank of almost 21. So immediately Jahmyr Gibbs comes in chomping at the bit.
Well, and he's behind one of the best offensive lines, especially on in run blocking. And like you said, you don't get rid of Swift. Well, first of all, Swift, he may be somebody we got to be concerned about because he demanded to be traded.
Did he know?
And so to me, man, if you really are sure of yourself, and I think as a running back you have to be, you're not demanding to be traded. But he demanded to be traded, and listen, they got rid of him, so they know something about him, either in the locker room or his injury situation to allow him to leave.
Possibly in the bedroom.
I'll jump in here. Gibbs, I had at 3.
Yeah.
And what we'll do, I'm not going to mention my 2 here. We'll go to the next round, and when he comes up, I'll mention he was my 2. But Gibbs, what I do have on him, you're talking about Swift. They obviously trade Swift. He's coming in. He's a comp for him. I think the way not only the way he runs, but the kind of weapon he is out of the backfield. So I think in his college career, he never ranked less than 9th in yards per route run. He's kind of an elite type of back out of the backfield, especially on angle routes. He's really good at finding a soft spot in the zone with linebackers. And Swift had the second most red zone targets on the team last year. So there's a role for him as soon as he
100%.
steps in. Now, his value is going to be cut down just a little with Montgomery there and getting those short yards and goal to goal.
And he does have to put a little bit of weight on too.
But Detroit does throw the ball in the red zone as well. So I think you're safe with him there. The only reason I have him 3 is just kind of for that reason. Montgomery with the 3-year contract, I know they could get out of it after 2 years, but he's there for a reason too, so that he just a little notch down for me because of that, but I had no problem with taking him as the second rookie.
I think Gibbs comes in and he is what Detroit wanted Swift to be. There's a couple of big plays in Swift's short career in Detroit that stick out in my mind.
Yes.
And it was that 32-yard pass that he dropped on the goal line to win against Chicago.
I lost that week because of that.
And there was another dropped pass that was a sure-handed touchdown as well.
Yeah.
And I think, we saw on draft day how excited was that war room to get Jahmyr Gibbs. They were beside themselves.
Maybe a little bit too excited at 12 because I think he would have been there later. I'll be honest.
And I can see
too.
If I was Swift, honestly, I would have probably demanded a trade after I saw that tape too.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, I think it makes sense because the writing's on the wall. You go sign Montgomery.
Yeah.
You draft this kid that high. I think he knew.
He knew.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to round 3.
All right, so round 3, I have a wide receiver that for me, where he was drafted, his placement jumped him up ahead of a couple of wide receivers that were thought pre-draft to be ahead of him.
Okay,
and that's Jordan Addison.
This is perfect. This is what I had too.
I love where Jordan Addison ended up, man. I think he is immediately wide receiver 2. Mm-hmm. I think I already called it out a couple of weeks ago that KJ Osborne is going to be a league winner. I still firmly believe that KJ Osborne has a significant role in this offense, and I think the drafting of Jordan Addison puts KJ Osborne exactly where he needs to be, and that's to be probably the most dynamic wide receiver 3 in the league.
I agree there.
So I love Addison here. I think Jefferson demands so much respect that Addison is going to be he's going to be targeted often.
I think Osborne. All right, so I don't agree, but I do think he's one of the most dynamic wide receiver threes this year. I just thought of another guy, but Addison I love because, like you said, it's all about situation. Thielen's out the door. They brought him in to be that guy. Excellent route runner.
Yeah, I
knows
think
how to
he's
get
honestly
open.
first or second best route runner
and
in the rookie class.
And this guy's going to be seen single coverage nonstop. And fourth in neutral script passing are the Vikings. Fourth in neutral script passing in the league. Second in red zone passing. They don't run the ball in the red zone. They're going to be throwing. And who's drawing double coverage in the red zone?
JJ.
And who's the other
And
guy?
TJ Hawkinson.
There you go. That's it. So I think there's going to be a battle, obviously, early in the season, and who's the second target on that team between Hawkinson and Addison. But I think he has the talent to kind of be the number two option.
I'm going to disagree here, and it's only for one reason.
Go ahead.
He is a great route runner. In fact, he's electric. I almost want to say he is number one in this rookie class
You
as
can
a
argue
route
it.
runner.
Yeah.
You can argue it, but he's up there. What scares me is he's 173 pounds, and he's slight. And he kind of reminds me a little bit of Rondell Moore, who is the same thing, electric, really good route runner. But when you start playing against NFL men, so the reason why I rank him a little bit lower is because I don't know that he'll get through a whole season without an injury.
That's fair.
So my number 3 was Quentin Johnston, who was landed with the Chargers. And again, I love everything about this guy. I love his size. I think he's quick enough. I do think he's a good route runner, and I love his position. They throw like hell, and I can't remember a week in the last 2 years where they had all of their number 1 and 2 receivers. Like Mike Williams and Keenan were always, one of them was always hurt.
Yes.
So I think he steps in. I think they drafted him to replace Keenan long term.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to have a great rookie season, and I like him enough to put him at 3.
So I actually had him here at 5.
I have him at 5.
I had
as well.
Addison at 5 and the only reason is he's slight. That's the only you know.
Well, I'll let you go first, Phil.
Yeah, so Quentin Johnson, a lot of the stuff you said, I mean, the situation is good for him. He's obviously the heir apparent to replace this guy. I mean, they got to start shaving some money off that cap.
Yeah.
They're going to have to pay their quarterback soon. So that makes sense. He's a rack specialist. This guy's like, he gets the ball in his hands. He can make people miss. He transitions from catching the ball to running a lot like a good receiving back does.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of stiffness when he gets the ball, so he's going to break tackles. I think he was 11th in missed tackles in the nation last year.
He's tough.
6th in yards after catch. So this is a guy that, get the ball in his hands. It's a lot different than what they've had there at the wide receiver position.
Yeah.
Get the ball in his hands, let him make a play, and they got the quarterback to do it. And now looking back at my top 12 QB rankings, maybe he creeps up on dangerous a little bit. Now they got a 3-headed monster if they can stay healthy.
Well, and they got a guy. I mean, this guy's 6'3", 208. He's got a frame that he could probably add another 10 pounds, maybe 15, and not lose speed. Yeah. This guy could be a monster.
Yeah.
So
Monster.
Yeah. Not to mention, there's been links now to Keenan Allen possibly headed out to Detroit. He has been linked to Detroit now with the recent struggles with Jamison Williams.
Got
can see that.
6 games.
Because like you said, the writing's on the wall there for Keenan. They brought him in to eventually replace him.
Yes.
I like him a lot better with Keenan not there, obviously, because I think that Josh Palmer is also a very viable receiver.
Yes.
But like you said, Mike Williams is also often hurt. And Mike Williams is not the tackle breaker that Quentin Johnston's going to be. Mike Williams is your high pointer. He is definitely your red zone target. But I think Quentin Johnston is going to stretch the field here. I think Quentin Johnston is going to win you 50-50 balls, and I think he's going to come down, and I think he's going to break a lot of tackles. Not to mention, they have the second easiest strength of Jesus. God, I am struggling with that.
That's all right. Listen.
Strength of schedule.
It's a bit of a tongue twister.
For passing.
The arsonist had Ali shape. Listen, so don't be mistaken. They drafted him. They spent this draft capital on him, not only to replace
Keenan.
Not only to replace Keenan, but it's also an insurance policy for Mike Williams.
Yeah.
And you have a young quarterback. This is your young receiver that you're pairing with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the guy that if he lives up to what he's supposed to be, gets the second contract.
Yep.
Not Mike Williams.
And
Mike Williams
think-
is also
Great
going to
point.
be out the door soon too.
And I do think if the right offer came for either Keenan or Mike, they would have to consider making that move because they're paying them both a ton.
You'd rather go off Keenan, but yes.
Yes. Well, Keenan's, 31 this year?
Well, they just paid Mike, though. It was either last year or the year before. So he did just re-up for, I think, 4 years.
4 years, yeah. But
at a pretty good rate. But then last year, he was out, I think, at least 5 games.
Yeah.
And they could get out of that, I think, after the 3rd year. I think he'll be there, but what I'm saying is he's not... This is their wide receiver one if everything works out.
This is who they're building with. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's why I like him in the top 5. It's a nice job, fellas. We're all right there in the same vicinity because there are a lot of wide receivers that you could really interchange here, and there's even a couple of running backs that you might want to grab.
Didn't you guys feel like this draft, the wide receivers landed in the best spots for them, and there were so many of them that did.
For the most part, yeah.
You know,
there's been it's so weird to see now with the NFL drafts. The last couple of years, there's been like this paradigm shift, whereas wide receivers used to land in the shittiest spots, right?
Yeah.
They were instantly wide receiver 2s.
Yep.
Some of them were never heard of ever again, and the running backs were landing in all the right spots.
Yeah.
The last 3 years, man, all the running backs are ending up in spot like Zach Charbonnet going to Seattle behind K9, and then they go and they draft Kenny McIntosh too. You know, like 2 backs that could have been very well utilized somewhere like Cincinnati, somewhere else, but they end up in these real tough situations. And the wide receivers are landing in like these cookie cutter spots where they're immediately wide receiver 2.
I think it's because the wide receiver position in itself has come a long way.
Yeah.
You know, historically, it's been hard for Wookie. Wow.
Wookie wide receivers.
Wookie wide receivers.
you guys are struggling this time. Normally it's me.
Rookie wide receivers to make an impact their rookie year, even earlier in their career. But I think with the specialization of the game now and the pass heaviness, these kids are, molded into wide receivers like from even before high school. And I think they're coming in ready, and teams know that. So they're a lot more willing to draft guys earlier and, know that they could fill a spot right away. So I think that's the big change.
I think receiving in college has come up to the pros, and the play calling in the pros has come down, a little bit down to college. So it's used to be like you said, you drafted a wide receiver, you knew it better be dynasty because you probably weren't getting anything until the second year. Yeah. Now we're seeing guys like Jefferson come in and just break every record.
I think it really started that 2013 draft was like the first time Sammy Watkins, Odell, Jarvis Landry is when it really started. Guys started making an impact like their first year. Yeah. But your turn again, sir. Who's your 4th guy?
So number 4, because as I just mentioned, Quentin Johnson was my number 5. Number 4 was tough for me. He was almost number 3. He's very dynamic, but the reason why I dropped him down a slot is because if I put him any higher, I'd be going against my belief, which is you never sit Tyler Lockett.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
this is who I got at 4 too.
This is Jackson Smith and Jigba. Okay. He comes in. I want to say he's immediately wide receiver 2, but I've been watching a lot of tape on Lockett because there's this theory out there that the reason why Lockett goes down after every catch is because he's saving his body for the longevity of his career. And
so he's not a team player.
But or he's the quintessential team player because he's saving himself for a longer
saving himself
run.
For another 9-7 season, 9-8 season.
So I do actually like Smith and Jigba though. I think he is going to come in. I think he's going to immediately supplant Lockett as the wide receiver 2, which I think will help Lockett because I think that Lockett now will safely nestle into that wide receiver 3 position and be even more dynamic where you won't want to sit him in your fantasy leagues. But Smith and Jigba, he's got it all, right? The guy can fly. He's got great hands.
Yes,
he came from a college that is known for shitty quarterback play, which means to put up those kinds of numbers,
you got to be really good.
You have to be really good. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I like him. I think he's probably as dynamic as you'll get at that position at his size. And again, he's got a frame that is going to need to fill out a little bit in the NFL.
He's only 196, but I think he's got it.
Yeah,
I think
so too.
We're trending that way with the wideouts too. I mean,
look at the Slim Reaper, man. I mean, I hate to admit it because he's in Philly, but Devonta Smith is guy puts up numbers, man. He does nothing but catch the ball.
Who'd you have it for?
I actually had JSN too.
Okay, so go ahead. You talk then.
No, I mean he came from wide receiver U. That's number 1.
Yeah.
to me, I think he's an exceptional route runner, and I think that it was kind of weird. He was the first receiver drafted, although it was much lower than I thought it would be. But it's because he didn't play last year, and that's my only concern. Yeah. I think if he had been healthy, and he had replicated anything close to the season before, where he had almost 100 receptions, 1,600 yards in receiving, and 16 touchdowns, I think he would have been much higher. I think he would have been everybody's number one, but which he was anyways. But to me, I my only concern about him, the reason it dropped him a little bit is he tried to get on the field 3 times last year.
Yeah.
And 3 times he played less than 4 plays and then had to call it quits. So I'm hoping it's not anything that he sustained that's going to be a lasting injury.
Yeah, that's concerning. And the other thing I'll say in response to what you said is I guess I didn't think that he would immediately supplant Lockett. So it's interesting. I'd like to hear more about why you think that. But I think I have an idea why. And Lockett's 31. That's the big thing. And they're paying him a lot. And they could get out of that contract next year and save a lot of money. The cap hit only be like 2-point-something million. They'd save about 10 on the cap. So that lines up,
right.
Where they drafted him, how it lines up with him, and you pair him up with Metcalf. Feels like they're going for it a little bit. The only other concern I would have for him is Seattle. I think they were second in the league in plays with 2 tight ends on the field.
Yeah.
They go draft 2 running backs. Are they still going to be as committed to the running game? Is there going to be the volume there when Lockett's in his first year? That's kind of why he's at 4 for me. But I still think dynasty-wise, he's going to be that guy if everything works out. And long-term, he's going to be well worth the draft pick.
And and another thing is here too. Seattle has the 9th easiest strength of schedule against the pass this year. And don't sleep on Geno Smith. The guy can sling the rock. The guy's going to put the ball up 30, 35 times a game this year, especially with the strength of schedule like that.
Basically doing everything that Russell wanted to do, and they didn't let him do.
Yeah, except I think Geno might be a little bit more accurate. People, it's a shame what happened to Geno, man. If you look at his trajectory, that shitty day at practice really changed the trajectory of that guy's career.
Well, you look at he went to a really, really piece of garbage organization, and that's the real issue.
During a piece of garbage time, too.
But his issue was never arm strength, accuracy. He was a young player. It was decision-making, and he turned the ball over a lot. But, I mean, to be fair, he had good times in New York, and like I said, he wasn't in my top 12 because I had to see another year to believe it. Yeah. Because the overwhelming evidence is that he's not a starter quality.
But if you would have seen this draft, you might,
Maybe, but it's still like the jury's still out because he could still have that year where he throws 32 with 20 interceptions. That's still in him, I think.
He's going to Jameis, you think?
I don't think that bad. I mean, that's like a shooting star, you know, and I love Jameis, but the ultimate gunslinger. But, I'd still think there's that in there. And how does that look halfway through a season? I don't know. But if he really cleaned up his game, then we'll see. I think Seattle feels the same way, and it's reflected in the contract they gave him.
They did. Yeah.
And not only that, I think it's reflected in what they went out and they drafted too. I think they really have a lot of confidence in Geno, and I think it's rightfully deserved. I like what I saw out of Geno last year. I think he made great decisions. I think he's grown up a lot since his days in New York. I think I love DK Metcalf is a physical specimen. I mean, he's about as physically talented as probably Julio Jones in a younger age. That you can throw the ball up to DK, and DK is going to go get the ball. JSN is going to stretch your field, and JSN is going to. I think he's going to demand a lot of targets, and I think Geno is going. I think he's really going to sling the rock around this year. Geno is one of my quarterbacks that I've been targeting late in drafts. In the drafts that I reserve quarterback and tight end for later, they're the teams that I go running back, wide receiver heavy, and I end up getting Geno at a supreme discount, and I'm okay with it.
All right, so I think we already talked about all our picks for 5, did we not?
Yeah.
Yeah, you talked about your pick. I talked about my pick, which would have been
crazy.
Addison.
We all had the same 5.
Yeah.
I would have thought there was at least disparity with 4 and 5.
So quickly, I guess me and you could talk about why we bumped Quentin down to 5.
Yeah.
And then maybe you can talk about why you have Addison at 5. I'll let you go because it's your turn.
For me, with Quentin, it's just there's a little bit of uncertainty, right, with the Chargers. We don't know what's going to happen with Eckler. Eckler wants out, doesn't want out. We have no idea what's happening there yet. Keenan Allen, all of a sudden, this is surfaced that apparently he wants out. Now he's linked to Detroit because Detroit wants to bring somebody in to kind of, help these young receivers understand what it's like to be a consummate professional and, not, get caught up in activities off the field and stay healthy because they have a great Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams are very talented receivers. Amon-Ra seems to have a pretty good head on his shoulders. Jamison has gotten himself into obviously a little bit of trouble here. So I bumped Quentin down solely based on the fact that I'm not sure what's going down in Los Angeles this year as of right now, because again, they do have Josh Palmer out there that was the wide receiver 3 before they brought him in. So if Keenan stays there, it's Keenan, it's Mike Williams. Quentin would be the 3, and I think probably in specialty packages because Palmer would also be on the field.
Yeah, for me, him and JSN were kind of, it was the most struggle I had with this list. And it was kind of the same thing. I don't love Staley. They just seem like they're a little bit in flux. I trust Pete Carroll more, and that was kind of the determining factors. I think the path for both of them to be like long-standing, valuable guys that you draft and keep on your team for control for the next few years. I think the path is there for both of them, and it's pretty similar actually. But it's just the franchises. Who do I trust to be more productive, more successful? And it does sound crazy because I do think Herbert's a much better quarterback than Geno Smith, but I just don't trust everything around him, and that's why he wasn't in my top 12, so on and so forth.
Well, and I think
they were close.
But I think with Eckler, like not knowing whether he's there or not, it's a big deal because personally, I feel like his ability and his threat to run and the way he runs, it opens a lot in the passing game.
Yeah.
So if he's gone and they replace him with another back, it's not going to be that back.
No.
And that does scare me because I do think you may get the defensive tackles or the DNs coming in a little bit hot and heavy.
I think that right there is going to hinge on how much Isaiah Spiller grew up in that first year because they drafted him to be that guy in the absence of Eckler.
Yeah.
But his problem was grasping the playbook. So he was in the doghouse a bunch.
Because in the pros you got to block too. It's not just running.
Yeah.
Like in college, you're pretty much running. Every once in a while, you pick up a situational block, but in the pros,
so
you better protect.
Quickest way on the field.
Yeah,
learn how to block.
And Addison, I know you touched on it a little bit before,
but
what was
frame? It was just frame because I'm a big believer in the fact that he's good enough to be there. I'd feel a lot better if he was 190 than 173. I just have seen, and in Cleveland, we've always drafted slim receivers, and I just have seen almost every time they go out 3 to 4 games here.
You've been hurt.
Yeah, I've been hurt deep down.
So. All right, so I'll throw a curveball at you. Wow, I'm having a hard time.
I had
today.
one too. Yeah,
curveball for you guys. Who was the guy? Who was the 6th guy? Who was the guy that almost made it on?
Okay.
I'm glad you brought this up because I was going to.
Okay.
God,
I was too. No, go
It's
ahead.
your turn, yeah.
So
I want to see if we have the same one.
I think it's got to be Zay Flowers. I love where Zay is at, man. I love him in Baltimore. I think that he is going to be that team's Tyreek Hill at some point.
Yeah, you said that last week.
And I truly believe it. I think his game. I think his game is very similar. And with Lamar coming out and saying that he wants to pass for 6,000 yards.
That means he's going to.
Yeah. He just may. He's got Bateman. They went out. They got him Odell.
He also said he was not going to sign unless it was fully guaranteed. So he says a lot of things he don't mean. You know what I'm saying?
You bring in Zay Flowers. You have Mark Andrews, and they have the 8th easiest strength of schedule against the pass. So I think Lamar is going to put it up early and often, and I think Zay Flowers is going to benefit from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your turn. Yeah.
I would say for me, I'm going to go off script a little bit, and for me, it's Dalton Kincaid. Okay. He's a tight end with the Bills, and the reason is that I don't think he's a tight end with the Bills. I think they're going to use him a lot like Atlanta did with Pitts the first season. Everything they're saying They're basically saying that they're going to come out with a two tight end set, leave Dawson there, and let Kincaid run like a wide receiver. They've been talking forever about needing somebody to stretch the field and let Stephon have a little bit more room. He's 6'5", incredible athlete. I just think they've got something. There was a reason they drafted him where they did, and they drafted him when they already have a pretty good tight end. And I think they're going to use him. So, again, Dynasty, I think he's the guy to, I would take.
All right, and my guy is Jonathan Mingo, who I mentioned last week.
Yeah.
Who
Mingo.
I like a lot. I mean,
I do like Mingo.
Situation for Dynasty, this is perfect. I love when you get a young receiver. I mean, we'll talk about his attributes in a second, but the situation, you pair him up with a young quarterback, they're going to grow together. This is perfect. For the long haul on your Dynasty team, this is a guy with all the talent in the world. This is a guy, but I mean, the guy just the measurables, his combine numbers were crazy. He does everything, and I don't understand how he wasn't talked about as much as some of these other guys. I think that for me, like I said, I think he's going to be a boom, a little bit of a steal, but they spent pretty big draft capital to go get him, and I think it's going to.
You're hoping that they struck fire at Ole Miss again, right?
Yeah, and he fits the frame of most of those other guys besides who's the small guy that came out of there that the Jets just traded? Elijah
Moore, yeah.
Yeah, but besides that, the last three guys that came out of there, same frame, same type of player, and he fits that mold. He's an athletic freak, and I just love the situation for him.
Yeah, I don't hate that pick at all. I don't hate either pick, honestly.
Is there a guy in the draft that you feel was kind of disrespected in his draft position, and you think that he can outperform where he was drafted at all? Is there anybody that comes to mind?
I have a guy that I don't think was disrespected by his draft position, but I think he was disrespected by prognosticators and like even fantasy football guys, like looking at where he went. But I think where he was drafted spoke more about who he is, and that's Jaden Reed.
Okay.
Going to Green Bay.
Yeah.
Scares me a little bit with the Romeo Doubs thing a couple of years ago, but I think that if you look at their depth chart, like I think he's wide receiver too, as long as he, something crazy doesn't happen. But he's another talented guy. He's versatile. He's kick punt returner guy. He has that wiggle, and I don't know. I just think he was kind of overlooked.
I like that pick a lot, actually. I think he's going to come out of camp as a wide receiver too.
Yeah.
And knowing the history, listen, Christian Watson benefited from Aaron Rodgers' ball placement.
Yes.
The knock on Watson is real. The guy has pretty shitty hands, and he's not the greatest route runner. Yeah. He benefited from having Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be a much different situation with Jordan Love. So
maybe not.
Let's see. I think
maybe not, but I do think that Jaden Reed eventually plays himself in this season, but I think eventually can play himself into the wide receiver one in Green Bay.
Well, I think that Watson honestly will take a little bit of a step back this year, but I think Dobbs, who is a great receiver and is a good route runner, and even Reed could get back, could actually get on that field and say something, because Love, like his throws happen a lot closer than what Roger does.
Yeah.
How
about you, Rocky? Do you have a guy that you slipped a little bit further than he should have?
I this is, I don't want to be Homer, so I don't really have one. I was surprised at Tank Bigsby with the Jaguars. I actually think he's he's electrifying. And I was surprised he lasted as long, but it was still the third round, and really for running backs, that's not insulting anymore. That's pretty normal.
That's par for the course.
So no, I don't have anybody that I think fell too far. There were some that surprised me in how high they rose. One being Cedric Tillman with the Browns. That one surprised me, and I had to really go look at his film to see what they saw in him to even take him in the second round. It was a third round. I
thought Tillman would have been fantastic in Kansas City. That's where I wanted to see Tillman. I think Tillman would have been that great fit with Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, he had like 12 touchdowns a year before. He's not. Now, the only thing that bothers me about all Tennessee receivers in college, they really don't run the full route tree. But anymore, a lot of NFL teams don't, and I think they're going to be fine. They're able to learn it.
Well, I'll make a slight, what I think is a correction to what you said. I think they don't have the ability in college to put on tape that they run the route tree.
That's
so I
fair.
think it is like a mixed bag. You don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. You're right.
Because this is from the Giants taking Hyatt.
Yeah.
That was one of the knocks. Like, he can't run the route tree.
But that's Tennessee.
I watched their rookie
they don't run them.
He's running the route tree.
Yeah.
Yet to see how it's going to look live action, but
Tillman,
okay.
Tillman, they showed when you do that slide down the line and then cut up for the reception, and they had him doing that, and he was killing it.
Yeah.
So you're right. Like it's hard to know whether if it's the program or if it's their lack of ability.
And we've seen that a lot with guys coming into the league. So, all right, guys, do you have something else?
Well, I was gonna say mine.
Oh, I thought you did already. I'm sorry, my bad.
That's good. One guy that I would love to see prove all the naysayers wrong. This guy was 2 years ago, had he come out, was going to be the unanimous wide receiver 1. Mm-hmm. Then, he opted out of the championship game. He played very sparingly last year. His character came into question, but this is a total Bill Belichick move, and that's to roll the dice and take a gamble in the 6th round on Kayshon Boutte. I think
I like the name Boutte.
Yeah, I think if this kid can resurrect what he was 2 seasons ago at LSU, I think New England got themselves a diamond in the rough and somebody that can help Mac Jones look like a decent quarterback in the NFL.
Well, he had a good rookie year. Let's not go back up that alley again.
Yeah, well.
All right, guys. Well, that was the show. I mean, I think that was pretty good. I do look forward to next week. Next week, we're going to be talking top 5 redraft rookies.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what we agreed
Are we
upon?
all going to be here next week, do we think?
I don't. I'm going to be here.
Because it seems like we
Are you?
fall
No,
off.
we're doing Dynasty rookies next week.
No, this
No,
was
this
Dynasty.
was Dynasty rookies. Oh. I mean, I
Now he
mentioned
wants to change
Dynasty
his pick.
15 times.
Let's
Are you
redo the
messing
show.
with it? Okay.
No,
Let's redo the show.
No, I think these top 5 are, I think,
Pretty
redraft or
interchangeable.
Dynasty.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to change for redraft.
Yeah.
The only thing that may possibly switch in Dynasty is if you throw a quarterback in there. And if you had to.
Stop talking. All right. So what we're going to do next week is top 5 Dynasty Superflex is what we're going to do.
All right.
So we'll re-rank these with Superflex position.
All right.
And see if we get some quarterbacks, which I'm sure we will, and how that makes things fall later on the board. So if you liked it, please remember, we forgot to plug your thing, but we're giving Mark's top 12 running backs. I'm going to put it up here in the video. Click on that, or you click on the link in the bio, get to it. That will be in its own playlist. But follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, here on YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And thank you for everything, guys. Peace.
Throw us a bone, guys.